30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee, featuring Tennessee Radio Hall of Famer George Plaster, Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame coach Watson Brown, and Young Guns Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in. It is a beautiful Wednesday in Nashville, Tennessee. It's hot. It should be. We're in the middle of July, and the last 2 days, this show has been explosive. Clearly, the Pat Fitzgerald issue has gotten a lot of discussion. We have brought you some angles that I'm not sure anybody else has really gotten into. And today, we're going to take it even a little bit farther. We're going to have a prominent Nashville attorney, Jack Waddy, who represented me in my lawsuit against Cumulus 20 years ago. Jack will join us, and we will ask the question, what's going to end up happening? Who's going to pay whom in this deal? Is Pat Fitzgerald truly going to be fired for cause and get zero money? Or, as I suspect, they're going to have to reach a settlement because the what's the word I'm looking for? The firm that Northwestern hired to investigate the case came out and said they couldn't find any evidence that Pat Fitzgerald knew anything. Then after that, this is all going to be during the 3 o'clock hour. Then we're going to center in on some real stupidity at Northwestern. You talk about a bunch of bumbling idiots. Let's start, and I'll kind of let the cat out of the bag. Former Vanderbilt football player Derek Gregg is the AD. He's an empty suit. You talk about an idiot. Here he is on Monday night, not able to get back from vacation, a vacation that should have closed up by Saturday when he realized all hell was breaking loose. So he joins this big emotional meeting involving Pat Fitzgerald and then the players. He joins it by Zoom, reads a statement, and then shuts off his computer. Me, if I was a player, the next time I saw him, I'd let him know who daddy is. I'd let him know, don't you ever call me when I leave this university. If you didn't think anything more of me and my fellow teammates than this, to hell with you. How do I really feel? He's an empty suit. If he was stupid enough, if Northwestern legal told him that that's what he needed to do, what a bunch of dimwits.
Maybe they already told him that they're going to fire him. Who knows?
I don't know. I said it on Monday that I thought he was in trouble. And his actions, now that some of this is getting out, he looks like an empty suit.
Might be in bigger trouble now.
Hello, Kelly.
George, you're rocking and rolling already, man. I mean, I just don't know where to start.
Okay, let me ask you this. If you were a player in that setting, your AD couldn't make it home from vacation, so he shows up by Zoom in an explosive situation where going in, those players have got questions, they've got gripes, they're frustrated, and you read a prepared statement and then shut off the computer. That is the AD giving the players the middle finger. That's all it is.
George, I didn't even know who my AD was. Also, let's be honest. I mean, I think you're giving young kids too much credit. I mean, I understand when you get to be a junior and senior, you've been in college for a number of years, and you've got your own way of thinking. It's been put in there by coaches, by parents, by your way of life. But I said it yesterday, George. It's hard to do that by yourself as a young guy to say something like he's a power figure. He's somebody that you've got the head coach, you've got the AD, you've got all your position coaches. They hold a position of power and authority over you. And I just don't know if guys are thinking that way, George. I really don't. I mean, I'm with you. Now I'm 50 years old. You're a little bit older than me.
Older than
really
dirt.
good for your age, which is really ridiculous. But now absolutely I would. But as a 18, 19, 20-year-old guy, you're focused on football. You're there to play football, and you obviously are attached to your coach. Those guys were upset, but for them to come out and say something like that, George, I don't know, man. I know I probably, like, maybe as a senior I would have, but I don't know. I can't say that. Now,
hold on a second. So you're telling me you would have been okay with your AD who's on by Zoom reading a prepared statement and then shutting off the computer? Don't feed me that.
I know, but what would you want me to what would you want me to do? Like, I don't know. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I didn't even know who my AD was, okay. George.
Look, you don't think that there are people in the room that wanted to ask the AD, who is our new coach going to be? Have you made any decisions on current staff? They don't have the right to ask that?
No, they have absolutely the right to ask that. But those guys are thinking, what am I eating for dinner? I mean, I'm just being honest with you. Like, they are not it's a bad situation. Obviously, there's no question what went on, and some of those guys were in on this stuff, but like, I don't know if they're worried about a guy being on Zoom, George. I don't think they really care. Like, to me, I wouldn't care.
I'm not making that big a deal about him being on Zoom. But I
know what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
You a prepared statement.
Yeah.
The governing body of Northwestern University, thank you very much. Click.
It's really shallow. Absolutely. There's no question. It's really shallow.
So why did it take you that long to say that?
I'm just saying we all know it's really shallow, but you're asking me as a player to have a press conference with the Chicago Sun-Times.
Hold on a second. That was yesterday. And by the way, for the record, no players have come out with anything which does kind of make you think there was something going on here. Here's my point, Kelly, to today's thing. Okay. Some of these kids at Northwestern are apparently pretty bright. Okay. Now, not everybody that gets into Northwestern or Vandy is smart. You're looking at example one.
Prime example.
Yeah, you stay out of this. But Kelly, by the age of 30, some of those kids are going to make it big in business. And when Derek Gregg picks up the phone looking for money, one of them's going to say, you can kiss my butt. You didn't care enough about me 8 years ago to do anything but shut your computer.
Be right, Joe. I mean, I get it. It's very shallow. I totally understand that. But, like, I'm just thinking about a former player. Like, and there were situations that arose when I played that, things like this happen, but you're not going to go to the AD. You're not going to go to the head. It's just, I don't know. I totally agree with you, man. I really do, because it's shallow what he did. And I would not have handled it that way. But I think as a kid, like, if you call me up I don't think. Yeah, I wouldn't want to talk to Derek Bragg, but if you ask me, like, okay, the Christmas Sorrows of the world, if you send somebody in the Blue Raider Athletic Association to me, which raises money, I would probably listen to him other than the AD talking to me about money situations. You get what I'm saying? So
here's part of the problem. They're trying to raise the full $800 million to take their dilapidated stadium and make something halfway decent out of it. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to defend Pat Fitzgerald and his behavior here. If this stuff is true, it's pathetic. But I got to tell you, Northwestern's role in this isn't real pretty from a PR standpoint. It's just not.
No, and they did what every college in the United States. They tried to let's bury it. Let's give him a 2-week suspension. Let's go on about our business, and hopefully nobody finds out. Hopefully nobody hears about it. But that's just not going to happen in today's society. It's not going to happen.
Okay, only because we got to move on to the update. Terry McCormick's joining us at 2:20 in the Titans news. There's going to be some interesting stuff that comes out of that. Billy, give us the quick version of your update.
Try to be quick here. Terry's American League went down last night. National League, after 9 straight losses to the AL, National League got it done thanks to Rockies catcher Elias Diaz. Diaz hit a go-ahead 2-run homer in the 8th to seal a victory in Seattle. Former Atlanta Brave Craig Kimbrell closed it out.
Craig Kimbrell
in the 9th
has
inning.
Found something. This is the closer that I remember with the Braves, not the one that was floundering around with a 5 ERA the last couple of years. Good for him.
Despite walking the first 2 batters in the 9th.
But his stuff, man, I've been watching him a lot. His stuff's been really good.
Yeah, he looks like the old Kimbrell.
He looks really good.
I got to meet him a couple of years ago. He was over working out at MTSU. Y'all know he owns a farm in Shelbyville.
Yep. Sure do.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, he does.
Interesting. Well, Elias Diaz was the All-Star Game MVP. That was his first All-Star Game last night for Colorado. And he's the first Rockies player to win MVP of the All-Star
ball
game.
Went foul to start the 8th inning that the umpire, the one down the left field line, what the hell was he looking at? I mean, he's not that far from that foul pole.
Well,
how does he not see that?
They showed the angle from behind the plate. You couldn't tell because of the sun and a little bit of the glare.
Well,
and
sure, but he's halfway down the left field line.
Oh, you're talking about that umpire?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's he doing?
Yeah. That I don't think he was looking.
He's
at
asked to make 2 calls the entire night, and that one he butchered.
You have 2 jobs.
God, get it right.
But the National League, nonetheless, got it done for the first time in 9 years. So,
since the Peloponnesian War.
Yes.
The Millard Fillmore administration.
Meanwhile, the NFL,
a
couple of NFL notes to get to.
Mm-hmm.
Giants running back Saquon Barkley's availability for Week 1 will be in jeopardy if he doesn't reach a long-term deal by Monday. They have until 3 o'clock on Monday to finalize a deal. He won't be eligible to be re-signed until after the 2023 season if they can't get a deal done. So I would guess they might want to get on that.
Yeah.
He's doing his darndest to try to not go to camp. That's what he's doing.
Sure looks that way.
Kelly knows somebody not wanting to go to camp when he sees it.
Yeah. I was
Adam
one of
Schefter.
them. I didn't have that kind of leverage, though.
Adam Schefter, meanwhile, is reporting that the NFL and NFL Films have selected the New York Jets to serve as this year's team on Hard Knocks.
Imagine that.
Shocker.
Yeah.
Shocking.
I would guess Aaron Rodgers might be spotlighted.
With his new haircut.
Yeah, maybe a couple
with the
times.
new clean cut look.
Brand new man.
Yeah.
George, John Morant's lawyers are citing self-defense. They're trying to, at least. The future of a lawsuit, John Morant, of assaulting a teenager during a pickup basketball game is hinging on whether Morant will be allowed to say he was acting in self-defense and can receive immunity under Tennessee law. So, and this happened at his house. This was his backyard. He has a basketball court in his backyard, and he apparently punched Joshua Holloway, a kid, during the game. So we'll see if he was acting in self-defense.
Doesn't feel like the old pickup games I used to get into.
Not they weren't that physical.
So it was self-defense against a high schooler, huh?
Yeah, That doesn't feel right.
All right.
Moving on.
Moving on to the PGA Tour. Commissioner Jay Monahan will return to work next week, and some top players.
As the new AD at Northwestern.
And some top players believe he has to regain their trust after leaving members in the dark.
Well, gee, there's a this just in. Really?
Xander Schauffele said, I'd say he has a lot of tough questions to answer in his return.
In a related note, Aaron Rodgers has signed with the Jets.
What is he on today, Kelly?
I don't know, man. He started out with the AD from Northwestern. I mean, let's get a guillotine, dude. Good gracious.
So who is it that said Monahan has to re-earn their trust?
Xander Schauffele.
Boy, I tell you, there's some real wisdom. Boy, there's something we didn't know.
A week after Monahan, this is interesting. A week after he announced the partnership with Saudi Arabia, the PGA Tour said a medical situation led him to turn over daily operations to 2 executives. He then sent a memo to players last week that he'd be back on July 17th. So this is weird with Monahan.
Hey, thanks for the note.
Yes.
That's all I got.
Well, you know what? In a moment, Terry McCormick will join us. I'm sure at some point we'll get into the Yankees' playoff chances. Slim.
And you gloating about the Braves.
Slimmer.
Slim.
But seriously, Terry's got some pretty interesting stuff, and I think all of you are going to enjoy it. So let's get to the break. Terry on the backside will be with us. Stick around. This is the George Plaster Show from the beautiful Fordyce Center in Bellevue.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
So who said I can't be a golfer? Well, you know what? This is X Golf, located just down the road from the Fordyce Center in Bellevue. This is fun. It'll improve your golf game, and you need to stop in and check it out. 8138 Sawyer Brown Road, and who knows, I may get to 200 before it's all over. So, Kelly, I was looking at my phone to see how far back the Yankees are in the wild card. And in truth, not all that far from the second wild card. So, anyway, let's say hello
Well,
to
they still got
Terry
a shot.
McCormick.
They still got a shot.
Absolutely. Terry McCormick from Main Street Media joins us to talk a little Tennessee Titans football. Terry, how are you?
George razzing on my Yankees, and go ahead, have at it. They're pretty non-competitive right now. I must say. But you know a thing or two about non-competing, don't you, George?
Oh, absolutely. Listen, the Jace Peterson era in the mid 2010s, that was bad. That was ugly. Yours has never gotten to that.
I was talking more from a personal standpoint.
When is the last time y'all won anything?
2009 was
Okay.
the last time they won the World Series.
Right. Had the highest payroll in baseball for all those 14 years and have not won a damn thing.
The Dodgers and the Red Sox may have topped us in some of those years.
Could be.
In terms of payroll. But
so
in fact,
you want to
I'm a little
start with payroll?
What's that?
You want to start with payroll?
I mean, like I said, with the Yankees, George, I'm a little put off with Hal Steinbrenner. I don't think he has the killer instinct that his father does in terms of wanting to win.
Nobody had his dad's stuff.
And I think that therein lies a lot of the problem.
They could use a little bit of George, not the full.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start with things like payroll with the Titans. You told me something yesterday that really shocked me about their finances going into next season, not this season, 2024.
Yes, because they are out from under some major contracts like Derrick Henry, like Ryan Tannehill, and some others. The Titans actually are projected to have, I think, more than $120 million of cap space for 2024. So they're going to be in a position where, if they so choose, they can go on a spending spree, either extending guys that they want to extend or going and getting new guys, or however they want to play it. But they should have some money to be able to do the necessary maneuvering to do any retooling that this roster needs.
Hey, let's bring Kelly into the picture as well. Let's kind of go three-way on this, and we'll stay three-way throughout this entire session. So with that in mind, because obviously I don't keep up with salary cap the way you do, Terry, how much of this is behind whatever strategies that Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel are using for this year?
I think it's kind of the ace in the hole, if you want to call it that. If they wanted to go get a guy like DeAndre Hopkins, they can do so, and they can use that 2024 cap space to structure the contract in a way that maybe it won't hurt so much this year when they're kind of hurting for cap space, and they can push a lot of that money into 2024 or even 2025, depending on how long the contract is. I wouldn't think they would want to get tied up with DeAndre Hopkins for more than a couple of years, though. And, that could be done that way, or they could, it gives them also the option to, I guess we'll call it the problem children in terms of the salary cap that we keep hearing about. Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, Kevin Byard would give them the opportunity to give them a short extension and create the necessary cap space for DeAndre Hopkins as well.
So Kelly, when you hear what Terry has just put out there, is a Titans fan supposed to say, okay, I get it, they're not going to be very good this year, but boy, next year it gets a whole lot better? Is that accurate?
I think that's kind of accurate, but this is part of the behind the scenes stuff that people don't understand and they don't see. And when you got obviously a new GM coming in, it looks like they're going to be set up for the future. That's really good news. I think it's kind of like the Nashville Predators we talked about. It seems like their future is really bright when you've got that kind of cap space that Terry's talking about. I mean, that's great for the upcoming year. Now, whether this year, I don't know. I think they'll be competitive. I really do. And the division has got all these young guys that are probably going to start at quarterback. Jacksonville's coming along, so you still got a shot to win the division, and you still have not got the pieces that you obviously think you need. So I think that's just something that it frustrates fans, but that's the business side of the game that they don't see. And I think it's very positive when you look at what's going on with the Tennessee Titans for maybe next year, but maybe not this year. But I still think they're going to be really good. I think they're going to be competitive. I don't know how good they're going to be on defense, but I think they'll be competitive. And with a weak division, you never know. You never know. They might be able to win it, George.
Terry, take it and run if you want.
I think what Kelly's speaking of, I think that's a best case scenario for the Titans is to be able to be competitive and take advantage of a weak division while you're retooling the roster and getting it ready for the next 2, 3, 4 seasons. Because we know at some point that Will Levis is going to be given a chance to become this team's franchise quarterback. We know at some point that they'd like for Traylon Burks to emerge as a true number one receiver. And then, they still have good pieces on defense anchored by guys like Jeffrey Simmons and Harold Landry coming off injury. Kevin Byard starting to get a little long in the tooth, so they might have to look for a future replacement there at some point, but he's still playing at a high level right now. So to me, they've set this thing up to take advantage of the mediocre division they're in and still contend for a playoff spot, knowing that down the road when they have to make these changes and, they don't necessarily have to blow things up. They can just kind of churn the roster a little bit, turn some things over, and give these new guys a chance to pan out and develop into franchise players.
Terry, in recent days, the ESPN talking heads have started changing their tune a little bit about certain things like DeAndre Hopkins, who's in the lead, who's not. And all of us who've assumed he was just using the Titans to get somewhere else are having to go, what is happening?
It's a good question. I think DeAndre Hopkins, like Kelly was talking about earlier with Saquon Barkley, DeAndre Hopkins is probably not in a hurry to be at somebody's training camp on the first day or two. He's a veteran guy. Even if he's going in and learning a new system, he can pick it up pretty quickly, save some wear and tear on his body, and come in and be a contributing player. I think really DeAndre Hopkins knows that the Patriots are interested, knows that the Titans are interested, hopes that the Kansas City Chiefs are interested, and hopes that some other team might be interested. But to me, and Kelly, I want you to take this and run with it if you don't mind, George. There's 3 scenarios for DeAndre Hopkins. He can look for a team where he can win a ring, maybe the Kansas City Chiefs, Philadelphia Eagles, Buffalo Bills, somebody like that. But he's going to have probably a reduced role with one of those teams. He can go for a money grab. That's probably not going to happen with the Titans, but he can take somebody's big payday and run with it, play 2 or 3 years, or maybe just even 1 year, and know that his bank account is lined up nicely. Or, and I think this is where the Titans kind of come into play, he has a resume that is borderline Hall of Fame worthy. He needs probably 2 to 3 more productive years to be in the conversation for Canton. If he can have 2 more 1,000-yard seasons somewhere, I think that someday he'll have a gold jacket. That could be what he's also looking for besides a ring or besides a heavy payday. Do you agree?
Absolutely. The last time we talked about it, I think you hit the nail on the head with that because he's got. I think when you come to Tennessee, you're coming to Tennessee because you're going to be the number one guy, and you've got a young room in there that you can help be professionals. I think that's what's intriguing about Tennessee. Plus, you're in a weak division. You're probably going to get to the playoffs if you come, and you got a shot. And then maybe they add some pieces next year with all this cap room. Well. That would be intriguing to me. Now, if you go to another team like you talked about, Terry, you go to Buffalo, you go to Cincinnati, you go to Kansas, you're probably not going to be the guy. Now, I don't know. I don't remember the Kansas City guys, but I know that they lost Juju Smith-Schuster. He could probably go in there. I don't think he'd be a number one guy, but all these other places you talked about, he's not going to be a number one guy. So are you willing to do that and take your ego and set it aside just to go win a ring? Or, like you said, are you looking for a money grab or you can set yourself up? I don't know. That's a personal thing that you have to look at. I'm not sure where he's at. I know if it was me, with him being a number one guy in Arizona and with him being another one guy with Houston, if I could still be that at his age, that's kind of what I would look for. That's what makes the Tennessee Titans so intriguing to me. And I could go in and I could help some younger guys learn how to be professionals. And hey, you got a guy in place in Ryan Tannehill, which I've always told y'all that I really like. I like the guy. I think he's tough. I think if he never got hurt last year, the last 5 games, I think they make the playoffs no problem. And I think they might make a run at it. You never know what's going to happen. All you're asking for is a chance. So I think Ryan Tannehill still got some years left. I think he can get the ball to DeAndre Hopkins, and I think it will be a win-win. But I think it's a personal thing, Terry, when you're talking about that. What are you looking for? Are you looking for a big payday? Are you looking for a ring? Or are you looking to go help a team arise to something like that? So I think that's an individual decision.
I agree. And the thing to me is with all of this talk about, whether or not he's a Hall of Fame receiver and whether he can get in that conversation. Uh, a lot of times the people who are in charge of the writing, and the induction into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, the writers who do that, with some positions, having a ring or two always seems to matter. Quarterbacks who have multiple Super Bowl rings always seem to be almost a shoe-in for the Hall of Fame. The only one I think that may not be there is Jim Plunkett. But at other positions, it's really more about the productivity over a long period of time. Nobody held it against Randy Moss that he didn't win a Super Bowl, still regarded as one of the greatest wide receivers ever. So to me, at other positions, winning a championship is not a resume maker or breaker for getting into the Hall of Fame like it is at the quarterback position.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that. And let me ask you this, and he's probably going to wait for a long time, but is he kind of the domino effect? Like if somebody gets DeAndre Hopkins, then we're talking about Jarvis Landry and all the other guys that are still out there. So is he kind of the first domino that's going to go off the board, or have the Titans thought about like a guy like Jarvis Landry?
It's interesting because Jarvis Landry actually has a little bit of a history with Ryan Tannehill from their time together with the Dolphins. Landry wasn't terribly productive last season. I think that's part of the reason he's still out there on the open market. Is there some questions as to what level of production he can give you right now, much more so maybe than there is surrounding Hopkins. But I do think that Hopkins he's the biggest fish out there on the free agent market. And once he decides where he wants to go, and then also you have to factor in training camp injuries and those sorts of things. Somebody loses a player at a key position, then maybe they're going to have to rethink where they are at the wide receiver position. But yeah, I think the other dominoes start to fall once DeAndre Hopkins has a landing spot.
So Terry, what do you think is the ultimate decision maker? Let me try it this way. Is Hopkins simply not wanting to be in training camp for a couple of weeks, and that's the delay? What is the delay?
I think that's part of it, but I think the biggest thing is he's just waiting for the right offer that fits him to come along. He knows probably a ballpark range of what the Titans are going to do, what the Patriots are going to do. If somebody else gets into this sweepstakes, they can either up the price, or maybe if their offer is not as good, maybe he goes, well, this is the best I'm going to get. I better go here. So I think he's waiting to see if the market will open up just a little bit more before he has to make a final decision one way or the other.
Okay, let's do this. We're going to go to the break, and then we'll get into round 2 with Terry McCormick from Main Street Media. We'll get into training camp plans. Will there be a scrimmage with another team? How do they intend to play the quarterbacks? All that kind of stuff. But first, talk Big Machine Music City Grand Prix. You see the dates? We're getting close. We really are. It's hard to believe, but it's almost here. great music for 3 days, great drivers, a terrific scene. And for somebody like me, I'll admit I'm excited. I've never been to one before, but I've heard so many other people talk about it who had never been before until a year or two ago that I'm really intrigued. I want to know what it is I've been missing. For some of you, you're starting to make plans for later in the summer. Tickets have been available now for a while, and I'm going to tell you how to get them. You can start ground floor general admission, work all the way up to some really good amenities, and they now have single-day tickets on sale as well. Go to musiccitygp.com. That's musiccitygp.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
At Baird, we have a different slant on global financial advice. That global capabilities mean nothing without personal attention. We have investor relationships in 35 countries and market expertise in over 40 industry verticals, all to help make the most important investment connections of all, yours. Global financial advice with a client-first approach. It's the shape of things to come. Discover the Baird difference at BairdDifference.com.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? How?
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Okay, we are back. Good look at Kelly's, a fourth of him there at the start?
Yeah, good look at his neck there.
Yeah, Kelly, thank you for that.
Easy, George. Relax. I'm back in the frame now.
Terry McCormick, Main Street Media, joining us on the show to talk Titans. Terry, we're now in an era where we've gone from 4 preseason games down to 3. And the truth of it is, most of those are Gerber's baby food, just a bunch of mush. So it seems to me that who you scrimmage and how much work you get out of those has gotten more important. Maybe and I don't. What are the Titans' plans in that area?
Well, George, they've got 2 scrimmages planned. Training camp opens on July the 25th. They're going to go up to Minnesota and scrimmage with the Vikings a couple of days before that preseason game. And then they're going to come back here, and Vrabel's old buddy Bill Belichick is going to bring the Patriots down for a couple of days of work ahead of that preseason game that's going to be at Nissan Stadium. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Titans measure up in both of those teams, because I think they'll get good tests out of both. It'll be, much different tests. I think when you think of the Minnesota Vikings, you think of an explosive offense with Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins and some of the weapons that they have. And with the Patriots, I think you see a much different approach, a more methodical running team, and a team that relies a lot on its defense.
Okay, let's get to the quarterback stuff, and I want to bring Kelly back in on this. Terry, I'm assuming that what really is going to happen is that Ryan Tannehill will look good with a visor and a clipboard in the 3 preseason games, and we get a lot of Will Levis and we get a lot of Malik Willis. You think that's accurate?
I think that's probably accurate for the most part. I think, for one thing, they've got to keep Tannehill upright. Now, if they bring in DeAndre Hopkins, they may want to, and that's what some of this, scrimmage work will do. Tannehill will get plenty of work in those scrimmages. May not see much game action, but that's where his work will be concentrated on, I'm pretty sure. The game reps, I think you're dead on right. I think you're going to see a lot of Will Levis. You're going to see a lot of Malik Willis. And really the thing is, too, we know that Levis is kind of a developmental project that they build him as the quarterback of the future after taking him in the second round of this year's draft. But Willis, to me, is a very interesting dynamic. He looked pretty good, actually may have looked better than Levis during OTAs and minicamp. But can he translate that with the pads on and function within this offense the way that Mike Vrabel and Tim Kelly want him to do? Because, Willis, they know that he can take off and run and occasionally make something out of nothing. But you've got to be able to do more than that to survive as an NFL quarterback, because he's not a very big guy. And you can't outrun linebackers in the NFL like he could at Liberty. So that's the big challenge for Malik Willis, is to show them enough this preseason to say, hey, I belong on this 53-man roster. You're going to have to keep 3 quarterbacks. And the other thing is, does he enhance his trade value if, he shows enough, but they still don't want to keep a third quarterback on the 53, because I don't think they can slide him through waivers and get him to the practice squad unless he just looks like a disaster in the preseason.
Well, help me with this. Wasn't the rule put in such a way where now all the teams are going to keep 3 QBs?
Not necessarily. You can have the third quarterback be ready and up for game day if you need him, but he has to be on the 53-man roster. You cannot just have a guy on the practice squad and say, okay, he's our third quarterback of the day. Can't do that. He's got to be a member of the 53-man roster. So if you're keeping Malik Willis as a third quarterback, then you're giving up something, an 8th offensive lineman, a 5th safety, somebody who can help out on special teams, those types of things. And those are the decisions that will be made when Mike Vrabel and Rand Carthon begin to lock themselves behind closed doors and say, we need this guy more than we need that guy.
So Terry, let me ask you something. Like, what was the difference with the rule? Because I can remember when I played, being the third quarterback when I first came into the league. I was obviously I was not on the 50. I was on the 53-man roster, but I was inactive on game day. It's kind of the same thing, is it not?
It is. It's exactly the same thing. But the last couple of years they've been able to designate a guy from the practice squad to be able to be up on game
Oh,
day, not
okay.
necessarily a quarterback, but at any position. And if you designate a guy to come up from the practice squad and help you for a game, he can't be the emergency third quarterback. That guy has to
Gotcha.
be a member of the 53-man roster, just like in the old days.
Gotcha. That clears it up for me because I had no clue. Now, let me ask one more thing, George. What with 3 preseason games now, how differently are coaches using those games? When I played, obviously there were 4 games, and the starters gradually increased their play time. So, with that one game being taken away, how are coaches utilizing those 3 preseason games? How are they doing that? Is it kind of like the same thing? The third game, you're going to get more opportunities if you're a starter and you're going to play to the first half, or is it different?
Necessarily, some teams do it that way. Some teams still, kind of tiptoe through the preseason. I think what you've seen is, kind of what we talked about earlier, those scrimmages. I think that has replaced that preseason game, that third preseason game, so to speak, when there was 4, which would be the dress rehearsal type of game. I don't think we saw Ryan Tannehill or Derrick Henry take one snap in the preseason last year for the Titans. And I think that that's probably something that's going to continue this year. I think they'll still use that preseason to try and take a look at as many young guys as they can to try and determine the best 53 because, somebody gets in there and, makes a play in the second half of a preseason game. Sometimes that turns a coach's head, especially if it's a special teams play, if it's blocking a punt or returning a kickoff for a touchdown, those sorts of things. So to me, the preseason is still about determining those last 8 to 10 spots on your roster that might not be crystal clear in terms of who you want to keep.
Okay, let me try this one. Kelly, you've played the quarterback position. We're now at a point where a lot of teams don't want to risk, and I get it. They don't want to see the number one guy go down. But there's this belief that you can just snap your finger and the number one guy in game 1 of the regular season can turn it on. You know the truth. What is the truth?
Some guys can do that, George. I can remember Troy Aikman back in the day. You can remember when they were going through their Super Bowl runs, they never won a preseason game. They didn't give a flip about preseason. And then some guys can do that. I was never one of those guys. You got to have reps. And quarterback position is the most difficult part because you got to have timing with your receivers. Now, I will say this, what Terry's bringing up with when you go – we used to go and do just one scrimmage with a team. I remember being with the Buffalo Bills, and we went up there that week with the Green Bay Packers. We had a preseason game after we finished, but you get some really, really good work in those preseason practices before you go to the preseason game. So that's where, like Terry just talked about, where Ryan Tannehill and those guys, they'll get a lot of reps in that stuff. They won't get many reps in the game, but they'll get a lot of reps. And it kind of breaks the monotony of training camp up where you're going against your guys all the time. It was so monotonous. I remember my first training camp being with the Indianapolis Colts. This is kind of back in the historic days, but we went 5 weeks of training camp, and I thought it was never going to end. And it got so monotonous going against each other because we didn't have anybody to scrimmage. We were just preseason games. So it kind of breaks that up where you can go to another team and you can kind of see how you stack up against like the Minnesota Vikings or the New England Patriots. So that's a pretty cool deal right there. But getting back to your question, George, some guys can do that, some guys can't, and you have to know as a coach who can. You have to know that, hey, my guy needs a bunch of reps, or my guy doesn't have to. He's been around for a while; he doesn't need those. So I kind of think it's an individual thing as well.
So, Terry, where would you put Ryan Tannehill, having watched him, as far as that category training camp wise? What do you think he needs?
He's been around long enough, George. He doesn't need a lot of reps at this point in his career. 12 years in the league, he knows the ins and outs of what he can do, what he can't do, and by and large, I guarantee you, he studied the guys who are his wide receivers that he currently has on the roster. He's gathered them together before training camp. If he hasn't already done it, that's coming probably in the next couple of weeks to throw and get familiar with the route concepts and the playbook and all those sorts of things of I need you here at this part, I need you to break your route here. I need you to be at this landmark at this certain time, all those sorts of things. That stuff he already knows. He doesn't need that, Now, by contrast, Will Levis needs a lot of that. Malik Willis needs a lot of that because they haven't really been through the rigors of what it takes to be a successful NFL quarterback. So to me, Ryan Tannehill, anything, they'll treat him with kid gloves in training camp. He'll get the work that he needs, and that'll be it. And then you'll see Malik Willis and Will Levis get a lot of work in preseason.
Okay, I hear that, and that seems like the right answer. But Kelly, if they were to sign DeAndre Hopkins, doesn't that change how they have to plan?
Maybe a little bit, but not much, George. It goes back like he's got to. DeAndre's been around long enough. He's a professional. He's just got to get in there. The position coach, the wide receiver position coach, will be meeting with him nonstop. They can get that stuff done on the field, and he's obviously a commodity that you don't want to get hurt during the preseason. So he might get a few more reps than he normally gets in the preseason, but it's not that big of a deal because he's already shown you his track record of what he can do. So you know what he can do. He's just got to learn the terminology, and he's got to get on the right page with Ryan Tannehill, which you can stay after practice doing that stuff. Like he can go back through the script. Like Ryan Tannehill can grab him and take the script of the practice that they just went through and the reps that he didn't get, he can go back through and go with Ryan Tannehill, and they'll get on the same page. It's not really a big deal, George, especially how late that DeAndre Hopkins is going to get there for some team. He's a professional, and he'll learn that offense.
Terry, you are painting a little bit of a picture, excuse me, that right now that Malik Willis might look like the better option than Levis. Is a person to take that Levis hasn't been as good as we hoped, or that Malik Willis has been better than we thought?
I think it's the latter. I think Willis has probably been a little better than a lot of people thought. I think a lot of people probably wrote him off after the way he performed last year, and certainly left a lot to be desired with his play because they knew last year he was a project, that he was a very raw rookie. He'd never played in a pro-style system, that everything was starting off from square one. The advantage that Levis has is the fact that he's already played in a pro system. He's taken snaps under center. He's changed plays at the line of scrimmage. He's done all those, made the types of reads that a professional quarterback would have to make from the systems that he ran at Kentucky. So to me, the fact that Willis has, looked pretty good through the OTAs and the minicamp is a sign that he's working hard and trying to hold on to his roster spot and his place on this team. So, kudos to him for that. Now, that being said, he's now, because he's not Rand Carthon's guy. He was drafted by John Robinson, who's no longer with the team. He's going to have to show them that he can do everything that Will Levis can do, or that he can perform with his own skill set at a capable NFL level. Will Levis is going to get the benefit of every doubt because he's Rand Carthon's guy. He was a second-round pick who probably should have been a first-round pick, and he's the guy that's earmarked to be the future franchise quarterback.
That's good stuff right there, Terry. Because that's good stuff right there because people don't understand that. Like Malik Willis was John Robinson's guy. So you're absolutely right, Terry. And I don't think people understand that. Like Will Levis is going to get every benefit of the doubt. He's going to get every rep. Like Malik Willis is going to have to step up. He's going to have to play good, and he can't have. And this is the bad thing. I can remember sitting in an office with a general manager one time, and he told me it was kind of one of those deals where evaluation, like you can't miss throws. Well, that's a lot of pressure to put on a kid that is coming in the league like I was. But you got to give it to Malik Willis. There's been a lot of pressure on him. Everybody's saying he's not going to make the team. You can't do this. You can't do that. And it shows a little bit about his character, about, hey, just putting blinders on like horses do in the Kentucky Derby, just focusing on what I can focus on, try to get better and try to make this squad. And if I can make this squad, I know that Will Levis is going to get every opportunity. But if I can show my value to this team, I may be able to stay here.
Exactly. Gordon, it's sort of like putting it in, I'll put it in a college vernacular for you. Will Levis is like the 5-star freshman that's been brought in to play and is heralded as the next big thing. Malik Willis is the 2 or 3-star junior that's been sitting there waiting for his turn, and the shininess, the newness has worn off of him, and he now has to show what he can do to be a part of this team.
And Tannehill's the 8th-year senior. That's been there forever.
Yeah, that's right. He took his COVID year too.
The 8-year plan.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that in today's day and age. But real quick, George, before we lose Terry, longtime Oilers and Titans owner Bud Adams has been named a semifinalist in the coach contributor category for the Pro Football Hall of Fame class of 2024.
I'll guarantee you that some of the influence of John McClain is in on that. You can take that one to the bank.
Yeah, I think, for all the ragging that people did on Bud and for the criticism that he received over the years, I don't think you can overlook the contributions he made to the early days of the American football league. He was right there with Lamar Hunt and Ralph Wilson in that regard.
What kind of stinks is that it's going to happen, but he won't be around to see it. And that's a shame.
But at least his family will be around to enjoy it.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us as always.
All right. You guys have a good day.
Good luck in the wild card.
Yes, thanks. We'll need it.
Okay, we'll go to the break.
Just can't help yourself, can you?
No, I really can't. After the break, we'll have stat of the day and then an explosive 3:00 hour going right back where we've been the last 2 days.
Back to the well.
To the Pat Fitzgerald situation. Prominent Nashville attorney Jack Waddy will join us, and I'll ask him if what I thought I knew yesterday is true, or am I completely full of crap when it comes to trying to play lawyer. Then we'll get in after Jack to the bumbling that is going on at Northwestern, including the athletic director, for all intents and purposes, giving the players the middle finger. So an explosive 3:00 hour. Then we'll get you a live report from Geodis Park, where Butch Samide is standing by. Nashville SC taking on the Philadelphia Union tonight. Busy 3:00 hour. Hang with us. Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? How?
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Hello, this is Celeste Middleton, a State Farm agent in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I want to help my neighbors and local businesses be proactive and assess their risk before something unexpected happens. We want you to have a thorough understanding of your coverages to have the best protection when you need it. We can create a personal price plan for you. Our team has over 70 years of experience helping people in Middle Tennessee. We have an awesome team with integrity and provide honest and prompt communication, and we love what we do and genuinely care about everyone we work with at our office. Give us a call at 615-895-2700. Send us a message at celestemiddleton.com or walk in at our office at 803 North Thompson Lane in Murfreesboro. We would love to earn your business.
Welcome to John English Antique Sports and Cards, located at 204 East Depot Street in beautiful downtown Shelbyville, Tennessee. Their phone number is area code 931-492-4304. John, obviously, I've been blown away by what I've seen at your place. I've now been there 3 times. But for the person who's never been, what should they expect?
Well, we have a 3,000 square foot store, George. Half of it is vintage cards in all sports. And then half of the store is, a lot of people call it the museum, where there's a lot of early equipment and just the history of sports in general. Baseball, football, basketball, golf, tennis, and other items.
When somebody comes in there that you know is a big sports fan, what is their normal reaction?
Well, I think that they're pleasantly surprised. And, of course, being in Shelbyville, Tennessee, which is a small town that you would never expect a shop like we have to be in. So they're kind of, I don't want to say blown away, but as I said, pleasantly surprised.
Welcome back in. 3 o'clock hour, off and rolling on the George Plaster Show from the beautiful Ford Ice Center in Bellevue. It's time for Stat of the Day, presented by John English Antique Sports and Cards in Shelbyville. You can find them at 204 East Depot Street. They're open during the week, Tuesday through Friday from noon to 5, and Saturdays 10 a.m. to 5. Give them a call at 931-492-4304. All right, let's check out what we've got today. And we're going back to the college football well. We are now 46 days away from week 0 of the college football season. Yesterday, we had winning streak. Today, which team has the record for the longest losing streak in the history of college football?
Ooh.
This one might be a little bit tougher.
Oh, I have a feeling it is. I have a feeling. Well, let me ask this question before we go anywhere. Is the school no longer a Division I football program?
No, they are still a D1 program.
Still a D1 program. Okay.
Were they an Ivy? Are they an Ivy League school?
No.
Gosh. Really?
Which is surprising. I was looking at the list and I was surprised it wasn't an Ivy League school.
Ooh.
But similar
because
to
I was thinking Columbia. Oh.
What exactly, Kelly, do you know about Columbia?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I just knew that they had a long losing streak way back in the day. And I don't even know if it was way back in the day. It might have been in the 80s, 90s.
I got to be honest. I'm throwing up my hands. Nothing is really coming
what about
to
Kansas?
me.
Would Kansas be a...
You know, I like that one. Let's go with Kansas.
Kansas?
Yeah, why not?
All right. Ironically enough, Northwestern.
Oh, gosh. Wow. This was
Dennis Green coached.
Dennis Green.
In the early 80s.
There was Francis Pay was at Northwestern, I want to say in the late 70s. And
no, it's I forget his last name. Bertucci or how do you pronounce his last name? He coached in the NFL.
Was it Rick Venturi?
Yes, Venturi. Yeah. Rick Venturi.
Yeah, that was not a great error.
No, but I thought it was interesting. I wasn't going to use this answer if it was an Ivy League school, but I used it because they've been in the news. So
they've been in the news
a good get, Billy. Billy, that was a good get, man. We should have thought that through a little better.
Yeah, but that's harder than winning because you don't think about the losing streak. But
although I bet they did.
I bet they did.
I bet they did.
That's 4 years though, right? Or 3? That's 4 years. God, could you imagine that happening nowadays?
That's a
lot of losing, man.
That is a lot of losing.
We've got Jack on the line.
Okay. So let me kind of explain what's going on here. I popped off yesterday with some things as I try to play lawyer on the air. And I kind of said, hold on a minute. Let's get somebody who really knows this stuff. And of course, This is right in my own backyard. Jack Waddy, prominent Nashville attorney, represented me 20 years ago in a lawsuit with Cumulus. And Jack absolutely knows his stuff, as you're about to hear in the coming minutes. Good picture of him right there. Good looking tie. Jack, how are you?
I'm good, George. Thanks for the nice words. It's been 20 years. Hard to believe.
It is amazing, isn't it? So when I talked to you this morning, I kind of laid out one thing that hit me right off the bat. You know that Northwestern is going to say, we fired you for cause, therefore we don't owe you any of the $40 million that if you'd stuck around for the duration of the 10-year contract, you would have earned. Yesterday, I made the point that, that sounds nice, and certainly whatever Fitzgerald and this staff have done doesn't look very good. But the university hired an investigative team that reported back, and it got out publicly, that they couldn't find anything to prove that Fitzgerald knew what was going on. So when this money stuff happens, tell me where it's going.
Well, I don't know where it's going, and the first thing you would want to know is, what does the contract say? There are probably moral standards and conduct requirements that are in the contract. They're in all those contracts these days, I think. And so the first question is, did he violate any of those kind of clauses and provisions? And since we don't know what they are, we don't know whether he's violated them. I will make an analogy that back when the NC2AA had teeth, they issued a lot of suspensions to schools for recruiting violations where there was a loss of administrative control, I think was the words they used. Maybe you can help me a little bit there, but there was a lack of institutional control over coaches that...
Yeah, that's exactly what they said. Lack of institutional control.
And those were situations where maybe the university didn't know what was going on, but they didn't have control of what was going on. I think that is an analogy here, because even though Fitz may have not known what was going on, and that's probably doubtful, but they may just have not found the evidence. Some of the reading I've been doing indicates that not to be the case, but that's a question of fact. There may be a legal question there that is, he should have known. I mean, how do you be in charge of an operation like that with assistant coaches who apparently know what's going on? He doesn't have anybody that is helping him watchdog the program for problems of that nature. And you can't have it being going on for dozens of years and not hear rumors. I read something where he didn't go in the locker room because he said that's the player's place. Well, that's okay, but somebody somewhere along the line probably gave him a hint, and he should have investigated. So I suspect that they will get some money just to get rid of it, but they're not going to get a huge amount of money.
So, Jack, you're going on something like, it sounds to me, 20 cents on the dollar kind of stuff?
Yeah. George, in my legal career over the years, I've always said, and there are exceptions, of course, but no case has a better than a 70% chance of winning or a 30% chance of losing. So probably this would be on the lower side of the chance of prevailing. If I were mediating this dispute, I would certainly tell Fitz, if you can get 30% of that $40 million that you say you're owed, that's $12 million. You better take it and run. Now, it's going to be reduced by the time value of the money. So you would get half that amount of money probably to settle the case, because $6 million in your pocket now is worth $12 million over the next 10 years.
Jack, when we all believe that look, a head coach has got to know this kind of stuff. If this has been going on for 10 years and this is a culture that has permeated this institution, for the coach to sit there and say, I didn't know anything, kind of says that he's tone deaf. But from a legal standpoint, if the investigative group said, we can't find any proof, how does the law play in that?
Well, that's evidence that he didn't know. Your own investigators didn't find anything. It didn't mean it didn't happen. It just means that you have a report, and the institution may be happy to have that report because so they can say we haven't lost institutional control because we looked into it and we couldn't find it. But there will be a lot of other evidence. That will not trump other evidence, but for under any scenario. That is something in the nature of an admission against interest, probably would be admissible in the evidence. But when the guy's suing them for $40 million, they're going to have a lot better investigation than they can throw around, is my expectation. And there are going to be a lot of these people who are going to provide evidence of the type that you have been reading about in the newspapers and on the internet. And that information will be evidence also. And then you got a jury probably that's going to be deciding, well, did he know or should he have known? The fact that they say they couldn't find evidence does not trump the fact that he probably should have known.
Kelly, I know you're listening to all this. Say hello to Jack Waddy. Ask whatever you'd like to.
Well, my only question is this. Well, first of all, Jack, I'm sorry that you had to represent George back in the day. I know that had to be a lot of problems.
Listen, that was fun. I mean, George always.
Oh, that was fun. Oh, did he? I'm sure he probably did. I'm sure he probably didn't help your case any because you can't keep his mouth closed sometimes. I mean, he's literally been on one today. We started out to do, and today I think he wants to put the AD for Northwestern, who's a former Vanderbilt guy, under the guillotine.
Hey, Jack, after the show, I'm going to give you a call. Let's see if we can terminate Kelly.
my only deal is this, and I'm sure you've already answered it, but like, how hard is it to prove something like Pat Fitzgerald knew that? Because I've been around all this stuff my whole life, and I do know this. I said it yesterday on the show that sometimes assistant coaches kind of shelter the coach from knowing everything. So if they're saying that he did, which I'm sure he probably did, because there's stuff that gets back to the head coach, but how hard is that to prove? Because I don't know anything about legal stuff, but how hard is that to prove saying that when you're going into a case like this that he did know when he's telling you, hey, I didn't know anything about that.
Well, stop for a minute and go back and be practical. You've got 10 years of alleged violations of this. By the way, the first question, if I were the defending this case, I would ask him, what technique does he use to get the sand out of his ears, eyes, nose, and throat when he sticks it in the sand all the time? I
agree with that.
First question. I mean, if you're going to stick your head in the sand, I mean, you're not going to get much of sympathy from me. And that's the way I would approach this. I mean, first, before we get into this, I'd like to know your technique for cleaning out your nose and your nostrils and your eyes when you stick your head in the sand. And after I get a big laugh out of that, then I'm going to ask him, well, did you never talk to your coaches? Did you? I mean, I'm going to, but really, I'm not going to ask him too much. I'm going to have these players line up and tell what happened and where it happened. You got that evidence of a big board in the locker room with the name of the cult that passed out the punishment and the name of the people whose name was on the list, and you're going to have people testifying that clapping over the head was the signal that this guy's going to get run and all that sort of thing. You got a bunch of testimony and proof, and that's what decides cases is what are the facts? What's the proof? And I don't know all the facts, but I guarantee you, anybody defending this lawsuit is going to find a lot of facts that they're going to present that's going to make it look like if he didn't know, he was purposely avoiding knowing.
So do you think that he'll get anything? I mean, will he reach a settlement with, because he signed a 10-year contract for $57 million, and obviously as a coach you don't want to leave that on the table. So you think they'll reach a plea deal at some point, like you said earlier, maybe taking $12 million, you better run with that?
Well, first of all, you shouldn't use the word plea because there's no criminal proceedings here. And you plead guilty or not guilty in criminal cases.
Yeah.
This is would be a civil action. And in a case like this, look, statistics show 98% of all cases get settled. Okay.
Yeah.
Before they go to trial, only 2, maybe 5% of cases go to trial. So this case will settle somewhere along the way. I mean, it's just almost impossible that it won't. And that will involve this exchange of some money because he's got enough of a case that it's worth something to get rid of it. And it will cost a lot. Right now, as my friend Tom Duffy, I could tell you the story, but Tom Duffy told the story about how his grandfather got a raffle ticket on a Cadillac convertible back during the days of the Depression. And he came home and told Tom's grandmother, waving that raffle ticket, how I'm going to ride up and down the streets of Philadelphia, throwing my nose at my friends. She said, "You're not going to do any such thing. You'll sell that Cadillac." And we got debts to pay, and we're in the middle of the Depression. They got in the biggest fight over what they were going to do with that Cadillac, and all they had was a raffle ticket. Well, right now, all Fitzgerald has got is a raffle ticket. Okay, so he's going to take something. They're going to give him something because his raffle ticket's got some value, but it ain't $40 million.
Jack, I knew not only you'd have great info, but it would be entertaining, and I really appreciate on short notice your willingness to come on and talk to us.
Well, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, George, and I'm glad to see your show's doing well, and I hope that we're going to be able to get you up on more easily accessible sources as things move forward, because I really do miss your program when I can't reach it. I mean, most of the time I can reach it, but when I can't, I'm disappointed because there's always good stuff. Thank you a lot.
Jack, thank you.
Take care. See you guys. Bye.
Interesting legal perspective from Jack Waddy, who knows his stuff. Kelly, 3 names have popped up. I'm assuming they'll go interim this year and then blow the whole staff out. And by the way, I don't buy the way this is being handled. Give the interim guy the deal and then let him go hire assistants. These assistants, if Fitzgerald is guilty, so are the assistants.
So were they, yeah. I agree. I totally agree. And they probably knew more than Pat Fitzgerald did. I mean, if he's clapping his hands over guys, he obviously knew what was going on. But I guarantee you that there's things that go on in every organization, in every college program, where the assistant coaches, the position coaches are there with their guys every day. They know what's going on. And sometimes all that stuff doesn't make it to the head coach. You would like to think that everything makes it to the head coach, but sometimes an assistant coach knows that he can handle the situation and he doesn't bother the head coach with it. So it's going to be interesting to see how this stuff plays out. And I'm like Jack, when he's got a situation where he can settle for some money, he better take it.
Bingo.
Yeah.
So there are 3 names that have emerged as future potential head coaches at Northwestern. Jim Leonard, who was the defensive coordinator at Wisconsin. I happen to think he's really good. He's the guy I would hire.
Yeah, one of my former teammates. Yeah, he was a really good player when I was with the Buffalo Bills, and he got his start there. And I saw him. He's a really good guy, really knowledgeable about the game, understands it, and I think he'd be a great head coach.
That is the guy I would zero in on. The other 2 names that I've seen: former Northwestern quarterback Mike Kafka, who is now on the staff of the New York Giants. The third name is Tommy Rees, who was at Notre Dame for a long time, went to Alabama as
offensive coordinator
at Alabama.
Yeah.
and started his playing career at Northwestern. And those are the three names that I've seen. To me, Leonard fits Northwestern. Now, what proof do I have of that? I don't know. Kelly, you know him. I don't. But I've always been impressed with Jim Leonard.
Yeah, very professional. He goes about his business very very knowledgeable about the game. He studies the game. He understands the game. It seems like he's doing a really good job at Wisconsin. Was the interim coach there, so he's got a little bit of coaching experience as the head guy. I don't know, George, though. That seems like a hard sell to me to go to Northwestern. It's kind of like a Vanderbilt situation where you know that it's a struggle there. The stipulations that they put on education with the guys being smart there, which that makes all this, I was with a thread with some of my guys this morning. That makes all this stuff crazy because you've got a bunch of smart kids that go to Northwestern and they're getting involved in this stuff and the stuff that they're doing to some of those guys. You would think that at a prestigious college like that would not happen.
Yeah. I want to make clear, in case I've, in the heat of battle, really not said this strongly enough. If Fitzgerald is guilty of the things that are being alleged, absolutely, his butt ought to be out. And frankly, the assistant coaches who were there under him, they ought to be out as well. But that's more of what I think is Northwestern's internal stupidity. So I want to set the stage of what it is I went on a tirade about earlier today. So it gets out Monday by, I want to say, 5 o'clock, that Fitzgerald is out. President picked up the phone, told him, "You're out." Okay. Then they call a meeting, a team meeting, where Fitzgerald, and this was a classy move on Northwestern's end, allowed him kind of a final deal with his team. I'm told it was very short. I'm told it was very emotional. You can only imagine the level of emotion that was in that room. The athletic director, former Vanderbilt football player Derek Gregg, out of town, on vacation. I don't know if he was in Uganda, Zimbabwe, I don't know what, but I know this. If I knew on Friday that all hell was breaking loose, I'd have been back at Northwestern by Monday night. Now, that's just me, but he wasn't. He comes on by Zoom and reads a prepared statement to the players and then shuts off his computer, which to my way of thinking, and this is a little cynical on my end, is him giving the players the middle finger and basically saying, I will read to you a lot of whereas and therefore, but I'm not answering any questions. Now, I don't doubt that Northwestern's legal department told him to do that. But if he's got half a brain, he's got to tell that legal department, hold on a minute. These kids deserve to know certain things. They're going to ask me about the assistant coaches, many of whom recruited these kids. They're going to ask about future head coach. They're going to ask about any number of things that they deserve some answers to. And Kelly, in my opinion, when he slammed the computer down, he might as well have shot them the middle finger.
Yeah, we battled at the beginning of this. I guess we'll battle again. I don't know. I'm just trying to put myself. Now, I wasn't a very deep thinker. Now, some guys are deep thinkers. I think you're probably a deep thinker. My wife's a deep thinker. My son's a deep thinker. I'm not that way. So, like when he came
to that before.
Well, here's the situation. Like I tell you, and I'm serious about this. Like I wasn't sure who our athletic director was when I was in middle, so I'm just going about it that way.
I get that.
And what you're saying is that when he walks in there, like Zoom meeting or walking in there, I understand where you're coming from. I get that, but also as a player, as a former player, I'm thinking to myself, like, who is this guy, and why are we listening to him? This is about Pat Fitzgerald, and we understand he's the AD, but guys think differently about it. I don't know if it was the middle finger to those guys. It was kind of shallow. I will say that it was kind of shallow what he did. But I don't know. I'm with you. I think he should have come back. I would not still be on a vacation. I don't know what the vacation was about. I don't know if he's out of the country. We don't know that. Maybe you do. I don't know that. You just said Uganda or whatever.
I don't. No, I'm being facetious.
But if you're in the continental USA, you need to be back. You've got that's just one of those situations where you're an AD at a Big Ten school, and you've got this huge controversy going on. You've got this huge scandal that's happening. You should have come back Monday. Whether your family stays back where they are at or not, you need to be back in the office fielding questions, and you need to have a meeting with the guys. You need to do your own kind of internal investigation and find out what's really going on. And I understand why you're upset, George. I get that. I don't know, me being a guy that doesn't think about – I was focused on football. I understand, because there's certain things sometimes that go on in a football program that you have to have meetings about. But I don't know if that would have bothered me either.
Let me
if he would have just been on a Zoom call. Yeah.
Straight out of this ESPN story real quick.
Yep.
Many players, some of whom voiced their support for Fitzgerald, came away from Monday's meeting upset and hurt, especially by the absences of campus leaders. Greg briefly joined the meeting via Zoom, but according to sources, shut off his camera after an opening statement and did not take questions from players. He returned to campus Tuesday. Schill, the president, did not attend Monday's meeting. Wow, God. I mean, what in the world? Let's see. This is a player who was quoted anonymously to ESPN. I was watching other people's faces as Greg was speaking, a dozen or so, and I saw a lot of angry looks and the shaking of heads as he spoke. I was also one of those people. I've spoken to many other players. Every single one is angry at Schill and Greg in their decision and the fact that neither showed up in person, and Schill didn't even make the Zoom. It goes to show how cowardly they are. Kelly, I got to be honest.
There you go.
I'm with them on that.
There you go. I mean, they
what?
Yeah, they said it. They expressed their concerns about that, and I can certainly understand that point of view as well. I certainly can. And with something like this going on, you have to have good leadership, and it seems like that they do not. That's just what it seems like to me.
And I said yesterday, it's just sad. I mean, put yourself in a Northwestern football alum's shoes. You're watching your program die. I mean,
go up in smoke.
I mean, that's what's happened kind of slowly the last couple of years. And now this happens. That's all I can think of is those alums, Fitzgerald, his family, of course. I mean,
it's hard to envision this group going to the Rose Bowl.
Exactly.
So let me ask you guys this too. With being an AD, don't know if he was a hands-on guy or he let his guy go, but he's obviously around the program. Do you think he did that yesterday because he's heard about this stuff?
Oh, I don't know. Everything I know about Derek Gregg going into this is really good. That this is something, had he known it, he wouldn't have put up with. He has gotten a lot of NCAA leadership positions for his stances on inclusion, all that kind of stuff. Okay? So give him credit there. He looks completely stupid for not having gotten back to Northwestern by Monday when he knew on Friday that all hell was breaking loose. Now, that said, I don't know all of the travel things. I don't even know where he was. And frankly, don't really care. But that doesn't look real good. But this whole holier than thou, I'll read you a prepared statement. Well, you can take your prepared statement and shove it. I mean, again, I'm going to say this, Kelly. In 8 or 10 years, some of these kids are going to be big successes. And part of Derek Gragg's job, whether he knows it or not, is to raise money. That's what athletic directors are charged with doing. And you can only imagine when he calls one of these guys who's hit it big, and the guy says, screw you. You didn't even care enough to take my questions. You shut the computer in my face. You flipped me the middle finger. That's going to happen.
Could be. I don't think he'd be there in the next 8 or 10 years, probably. He might not be there after this. It's going to be interesting to see because I still think he's probably in hot water. I don't know about the president right now. I think the president did the right thing after meeting with the parents of that one kid that was the whistleblower. I think he did the right thing. I think he's trying to sweep it under the rug and was hoping that it was going to go away with the 2-week slap on the wrist. But when he found out the allegations were for real and serious, I think he did the right thing. So I think he probably saved his job, but I don't know about the AD.
Yeah, Derek Gragg doesn't look good in this at all. Here's some breaking news. Tomorrow, we have no intention of discussing this anymore. How about that? After the break, we will go to Geodis Park, home of Nashville SC. They've got a 7:30 home game against the Philadelphia Union. Butch Samide is on site. He will join us next.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Hello, this is Celeste Middleton, a State Farm agent in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I want to help my neighbors and local businesses be proactive and assess their risk before something unexpected happens. We want you to have a thorough understanding of your coverages to have the best protection when you need it. We can create a personal price plan for you. Our team has over 70 years of experience helping people in Middle Tennessee. We have an awesome team with integrity and provide honest and prompt communication, and we love what we do and genuinely care about everyone we work with at our office. Give us a call at 615-895-2700, send us a message at celestemiddleton.com, or walk in at our office at 803 North Thompson Lane in Murfreesboro. We would love to earn your business.
We are back. Let's take our cameras out to Geodis Park, where Nashville SC has a home game tonight against the Philadelphia Union. Butch Samide is on site, adjusting cameras. Got a good picture there. Butch, let's talk about the big story in the background, sort of the storm cloud amongst the sea of blue skies or whatever. I'm butchering that. Hani Mokhtar who is considered one of the 2 or 3 best players in the league, Nashville SC, by far their most valuable player, and may well be the league's MVP this year. He's been unbelievable. All of a sudden has received, and it's gotten out publicly, that he has been offered a deal by some club in Qatar. Now, I don't know where the hell Qatar is, and frankly don't care, but how serious is this, and how worried are soccer people about this development?
Well, George, I mean, obviously it's a huge deal. Hani Mukhtar is the reigning MVP of the MLS from last year and is in contention for the Golden Boot this year, which goes to the player with the most goals, not only leading Nashville SC, but one of the tops in all of MLS. And this is a team in Nashville SC that's more of a defensive team. They're built on their back line. Look at Walker Zimmerman, multi-time defenseman of the year. Look at Shaq Moore, a participant on the U.S. men's national team in the World Cup in Qatar. And Hani Mukhtar was a huge part of the counterattack that was so successful for Nashville last season. So him departing would be the biggest blow, if not the second biggest blow, as in Walker Zimmerman, as if he took a deal with another club. So Hani Mukhtar is not only one of the best players in the MLS, but obviously his departure from Nashville SC would leave them in a huge, huge hole.
Okay, I'm not going to sit here and act like I know. So help me here. Is this a deal where if he accepted this, he just simply walks out of here in the middle of a season? Is this at the end of the season? How would this play out?
So the MLS's season is a little unique. For example, right now, a lot of international play. Tonight, USA will take on Panama, and that's why Walker Zimmerman will not be playing for Nashville SC, and they've had to kind of adjust their back line as he keeps going to international duties and then back to the team. So it's a little up in the air. If he did accept, he could, in a sense, play out this season for Nashville SC, as Qatar is not currently playing. And then once a lot of the Saudi Arabia leagues, the Premier League, and so on, as those seasons start to ramp up, he would leave most likely in the off season. But it's also kind of it's not really sure, because if he takes that deal with the team in Qatar, then there's obviously off season, preseason things that Hani would have to go and attend. So it's it's an awkward time. The MLS season has always been kind of in this in-between state. A lot of the Premier Leagues try to avoid as much international duties as possible with their top players, but the MLS is kind of smack dab in the middle of when those international duties come calling. And then as it ends, that's when you start getting the Premier League back again. So it's a little unsure. It would have to be, obviously negotiated in the contract with his new club if he accepted. Now, this wouldn't be the first time Hani declined such an offer. There have been multiple German clubs, a couple Premier League clubs that have offered him, and he took an extension not too long ago with Nashville SC to stay here. Obviously, teams in Qatar have started offering much more money. You see players like Cristiano Ronaldo and almost Lionel Messi taking a similar deal worth hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars to go play for them. So it's really up in the air.
Okay, so around Nashville SC, it's very hush-hush, and they're holding their breath, hoping that this will just, go away. Tonight, it's a home game they ought to win. They're a pretty heavy favorite to win, but does this cause a problem in their locker room?
That's a great question. And right now, it's a really pivotal part of Nashville SC's season. They're coming off of a loss on the road to Chicago Fire, where they more than tripled the shots from Chicago and won the possession battle, but still lost 1-0 on the road. So that's just a heartbreaking defeat. And then not only that, but third place is only 1 point behind Nashville in the Eastern Conference, and they go on in their next game to play Cincinnati FC, who is first place in the Eastern Conference and has just lost twice so far this season. So if Nashville does not pick up a win today, even a draw, I feel like would feel like a loss going to Cincinnati, where, like I said, they've only lost twice. So the probabilities of you going and beating Cincinnati in Cincinnati is very, very low. And the best case scenario you're looking at there is a draw. So to walk away from these two games with only 2 points And on top of that, as I mentioned, the heartbreaker in Chicago, it would start to become kind of a locker room problem where they went on the huge win streak. Connie was committed. There were not a lot of international duties. And now as we go on, Walker Zimmerman, Shaq Moore start leaving more and more. If Hani Mukhtar leaves, there's tons of questions about the future of Nashville SC.
Butch, a lot of their weekend games have been very close to sellouts. They don't play a lot of midweek stuff. What's the ticket situation tonight?
Well, I actually think that tonight could be a very close sellout. Nashville SC has been promoting their Marvel Night for much of this season. It's the most anticipated promotional event I've seen from them all season. They've been pushing it the hardest. I think there's limited edition jerseys and kits in the team store for tonight. Possibly the team could be wearing a new jersey. I'm not quite sure. Obviously, they got the new Johnny Cash jerseys for this season. I'm not sure if they're going to be wearing a different one themselves, but there's photo opportunities set up behind me. There's new merch in the team store. So I think there's going to be a lot of surprises tonight, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was a close to sellout or sellout crowd.
Okay, great report. Good look behind you. Great backdrop. The weather's going to be good. I'll see you over there tonight at 7:30.
Thank you, George. See you later.
Our Butch Samad reporting from Geodis Park, which, by the way, if you have not been there, Kelly, I don't know if you have been. That place is beautiful.
I've heard that I've talked to a couple of people and they say it's absolutely beautiful. And it's just amazing to me, George. I was sitting here thinking, listening to y'all's interview, how soccer has taken off in this country. I mean, when I was growing up, soccer was nowhere to be found. Football. And then you go over, I went over to play in Barcelona for football, and those people would stay up 2 or 3 in the morning watching soccer matches. It's unbelievable how big of a sport it is in other countries, and now it's starting to come here. And everybody says when you go down to, is it Geodis Park? Is that what it is?
Geodis Park.
Yeah, everybody says it's amazing down there that you have almost sellouts. They've been to sellouts. They say it's a great place to watch a match, and people love it. And I just cannot believe that it is making a big of impact as it has in the United States. It's amazing.
Well, and even in Nashville, if specifically, like Nashville, I didn't know, but Nashville had a huge soccer community, like already rooted in the city, that had been begging for a soccer team. And I remember going over to a game, I guess it was last year, George, and I mean, it was crazy how passionate they are. And anything will work in Nashville. I was looking around. I mean, it's the party type atmosphere that the Preds sort of latched onto as well.
They have sold 23,000 season tickets. The place holds about 30. It's really
beautiful.
Yeah, it's really an amazing story. I know we got to go to the break. No Major League Baseball tonight, so we will go soccer when we come back. Plaster bet of the day off a triumph last night. Way to go, National League.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
You know, starting to save for your future doesn't have to be difficult. Let Wilson Bank and Trust help tone up your financial goals this year. Our certificates of deposits or CDs can help your money work harder with our competitive rates, earning you more than ever before. WBT checking options allow you to earn rewards you can really use, like a high interest rate or cash back on check card purchases when you meet some e-banking qualifications. Visit your closest Wilson Bank and Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
At Baird, we have a different slant on global financial advice. That global capabilities mean nothing without personal attention. We have investor relationships in 35 countries and market expertise in over 40 industry verticals, all to help make the most important investment connections of all, yours. Global financial advice with a client-first approach. It's the shape of things to come. Discover the Baird difference at BairdDifference.com.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? How?
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Final segment on a Wednesday. It's time for Plaster's Bet of the Day, brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. Give them a call at 615-242-9000 or log on to bartdurham.com. George, where are you going tonight?
Pretty proud of last night. Let's not forget last night.
Oh, you know, I did.
It was big. That was big.
Oh, hold on a second.
That was big.
We've got pilot error.
I've got
this. Put it up there. That's
20. That should be a 6. Yes. 206 and 195.
Kelly, your reaction?
That was a big pick last night. They haven't won in 9 years.
Didn't have it. The fact that he didn't put it on there.
Nothing that Billy does any more surprises me. I mean, it's always a glitch in the system at some point. I mean, I don't know what he's getting paid for. Like, can you dock him like $100 every time he makes a mistake, George?
My God.
$100?
Yeah. $100. Yeah, C notes. I remember the first time I heard that, I was in a special teams meeting and I was late for the special teams meeting, and I walked in, they say, "Yo, me a C note." I'm like, okay, whatever that is.
That's a big hundo.
Hundo, that's right. So we're getting Billy a big hundo.
So let's say this: whether he's got it up there or not, I know I'm pretty proud of that one. When whoever it was with the National League in the 8th inning who hit the ball that was ruled a homer but clearly was not. When I saw the view that it had gone foul, I just threw up my hands and said, "It's over. I'm not winning." I was shocked.
Yeah. What a swing by that Rockies catcher.
Yeah, Diaz. Whew. Yeah. Okay.
It's that dude that was throwing 100.
Yeah, Kelly, they had some freaks on the mound last night. Those last 2 guys, like 6'7", 240 pounds, up there throwing 100 miles an hour. I mean, that's the norm now. But I was like, my gosh.
I thought Sonny Gray pitched well too.
Sure did.
Yeah.
Good for him. Congrats to Sonny. There was a deal where in the game, and I don't know who noticed, who didn't, where a kid from Smyrna was throwing to a kid from Overton. That's pretty cool. That's all cool. Right.
Yeah.
So
Tennessee they've got some baseball talent.
So I've got nowhere to go tonight with no major league stuff. I'm going Nashville SC. They play really well at home. The secret to it is if they score first, they're going to win. If they don't score first, we're going to squirm. That's kind of the way it is.
So you're delving into the soccer community, huh?
I have no choice.
Okay. Are you going to the game, George?
I am going to the game.
Okay.
Yeah, very excited. Here's what we've got. Program notes. Let's start first with the Sports Speaker Series presented by Wilson Bank and Trust. The three on the right, Watson Brown, David Cutcliffe, Tony Barnhart, will all be here in person. Philip Fulmer has had a change of plans. He will be on with us by Zoom, and we will go forth from there to make this work. It's going to be a terrific night. We still got a little bit of room. If you'd like to be a part of it, simply email me, plastergeorge@gmail.com. That's plastergeorge@gmail.com. Here's the other program note. Our show will originate next week from the Grand Hyatt Hotel downtown, site of SEC Football Media Days. That is never dull. It's a lot of work, but we're up to the task.
Can't wait. That was a really fun event to go to last year. And I know my perspective's a little different than yours, George. I'm sure you've been there well over
a few times,
15, 20 times, but I love it. I mean, it's a lot of content. So,
a ton of it.
So stay tuned next week.
Kelly, tomorrow Herm Edwards joins us at 2:20. We may ask him about college football hazing.
Okay. That'd be good.
Get ready.
Buckle up.
Hopefully not everybody's getting tired of it.
Oh, how could they? Gosh. I mean, we haven't talked about it that much.
The horse is dead.
80% of the show. Kelly, see you tomorrow.
See y'all.
Billy, try to behave and give me credit for the wins that I do get.
I will.
Because I have no doubt that had I lost, it'd have been on there. See all of you tomorrow.